Hello everyone. It is a beautiful, cloudless, what day is today? Tuesday. And I love saying cloudless because by the afternoon it's always so hazy and cloudy, and I always hear mixed things. Is it chemtrails? Is it just the weather? I really don't know. But anyway, this morning it's looking cloudless out and I'm just in such a good mood. I'm like super late for getting to work today, and it's my last week at my job that I'm at right now, my corporate job. And I don't know, it's kind of just like a whirlwind of emotions, like leaving something and then starting something new. I guess it's always a little fun, and at the same time always a little like on edge, like what's gonna happen? What is it gonna feel like? Am I gonna be okay? So kind of like all of the feelings are coming up, but mostly excitement. And I just feel so grateful for the way things have kind of like unfolded and continue to unfold, and I'm just trying to stay open as much as possible to God's plan, because I can obviously think my way into a really positive place or a really negative place, but when I lean on God, I just know that everything's working out, and there's so much going on behind the scenes that I don't know, and that gives me so much hope, because that's just the way that my life has always unfolded. And you know, things always kind of just like work out or show me things about myself that I've never known before. And no matter how difficult or challenging something may feel, I can always just give it to God and find so much peace in that. So I'm really just leaning on Him during this time to just really help guide me, and so I can stay focused on my mental health, my emotional health, my kids, and just keep putting one foot forward, into the direction that I think is right. But then of course He guides and moves pieces in and out of my life, so I can see more clearly as the days go on what kind of work and what kind of things I'm going to be inviting into my life right now. And I did post a few weeks ago on how I will be re-entering postpartum work, and that is God willing. Like, if it seems to work out that way and it's in God's plan for me, then I will be beginning to re-enter postpartum work. And it's very slow. I've kind of, since my pregnancy with Miles, have allowed myself to just take things really slowly, and have allowed for just the divine timing of things to unfurl more patiently. I used to have a lot of spontaneity and feel really just like I'm flying by the seat of my pants. But the last 2 years have really encouraged me and shown me the fruit of my labor when I slow down and am intentional. And so I'm not going to rush myself into postpartum work. If it happens, it happens. And so what that is kind of looking like right now is I joined an agency, and so far it's been really good vibes, and I'm just kind of in this waiting game of when a family comes through that aligns with me, and that I align with them. And so this will just be postpartum for right now. I won't be attending any births at the moment that I know of, but I'm just kind of in this process of having patience. And this brought me to a few tips that I wanted to share for new doulas who are just getting into this work now. I did share a big video a few years ago on my top tips for the new doula, and that's also when I was a new doula. So I was sharing things that was really helping me kind of get into the community. And so now re-entering this work, there's a few things on top for me that are the most important, at least for me at the moment. So take it with a grain of salt. If you're like, I already know these things, you may. And they're the most popular, I would say, but also the most important to me right now. So I just wanted to share them in case that may help anybody. But the first would be, when you are starting out as a doula, whether you're brand new or you're just re-entering it kind of in the way that I am, just slowly allowing things to unfurl. One of the biggest things for me that has allowed me to do this is to have side hustles that give me a little bit of freedom. And some may think that side hustles are entrepreneurial pursuits. And of course, in my heart, I have things that are in the works, that are coming to fruition slowly. But on this slow path, I'm not rushing into my entrepreneurial pursuits. Some of the things to have on the side would be like a part-time job that's flexible. Whether it's working remotely that's flexible for you or just certain hours that are flexible for you. Finding something that is like a little bit of a cushion, just to know you have some income coming in, is super beneficial when getting into doula work. And I'll just give you an example. Something that's worked out for me is by teaching childbirth education for bigger companies. And so I do it on the side, just as my own independent childbirth educator. But something that's kept me in the world of birth work that doesn't, pertain to being on call is teaching childbirth ed. And that has been super flexible. So the way I do it is I teach at night, and it's California time. So it's earlier on the West Coast, and it's 3 hours later on the East Coast. And so it's nighttime. My kids are sleeping. Of course, there's always the risk of one of them waking up, but we're in a kind of a good place right now where Miles has been pretty consistent with his sleeping. He'll be 2 in June. So that's been going really well. And it's the nighttime hours that allow me to take on this part-time job for a California-based company. So the flexibility here is it's nighttime. I know my schedule months in advance, actually, with this company. And so those are two things that allow this job to be flexible, and I know what I'll have coming in for the most part for the next couple months with it. So that's one example. Another example that I may be entertaining right now, depending, on God's plan, is waitressing. And the reason why this is so helpful is because, again, it allows you to pick up shifts when you want to, but it's nothing to seriously depend on for a super time constricting position. It can be done during the day, right? At a breakfast place a couple days a week. If you're going to be working with a family for a few days postpartum, you may need some days where you're working at a restaurant. And now, I don't know if you're anything like me, but it may be a little bit difficult to be split into two different directions. Just say the waitressing job works out, and then you end up getting more postpartum care. But then, it's kind of up and down. This is what happens, and it's part of doula work. It's as you get going, as you get your experience in and your name back out there, it is going to be some time before you have consistent work coming in. So just remember that everything is temporary. Whichever way you decide to go, however you decide to do it, if you're not enjoying it and you're not feeling like it's a good option for you at the moment, whether it's working 2 part-time jobs like doula work and waitressing, or working a different kind of part-time job, just say like social media coordinating with part-time hours during the week. There's always ways to just step back and reevaluate. Nothing is set in stone, and nothing is permanent. And just staying open to the process can be really helpful when stepping into this work. Another tip that I have, so the first tip is those side hustles. The second tip is to get yourself into the community of doula work. And it's all different types of resources. Not only are we looking to connect with other doulas, but we're looking to connect with other different types of birth workers and different types of lactation consultants, lactation counselors, pediatricians, obstetricians, if you have that connection, midwives. People need resources. So knowing that you offer postpartum support or birth support will be really helpful for the community. It will be helpful for the community to have someone to refer their clients to. And then it will also be helpful for you, because this is that word of mouth relationship building that's so important in doula work. And there's, something going on right now where there's a little bit of division in birth work. And I think it has to do with a lot of the regulating that's starting to go on with doulas and with midwives. But at the same time, we're all human, and there's a way to keep wonderful relationships going, peace being brought into all of our differences, and allowing this to build and make maternal health safer and more supported. And we do that best when we just come together as a team, despite differences, despite our outlooks on things, and are there for each other. And then we can be there for each other's families and create more of a continuum of care from pregnancy through birth and into postpartum healing. So definitely connect. Think of those different kinds of workers in your state that may be in contact with new mothers or pregnant mothers, and invite them out to coffee. Go out for a bite to eat. Do something fun. Go for a walk in the park, with your kids if you both have little kids. Get to know the women in your community. And then off of this note, because I did mention the regulating that's been going on with doulas and with midwives, is when you are a new doula, don't allow yourself to get wrapped up in all of the trainings and all of the money that you need to pour into this work. And it's beneficial, of course, to always be learning. We always want to be continuing our education. And you've probably heard this countless of times. But we don't want to overwhelm ourselves to the point where it paralyzes us and stops us from moving forward as a doula. Because we're needed. We're appreciated. We're wanted. And so if you don't have all of the certifications and all of the things, it's okay. And I'm reminding you that you already offer a beautiful gift by showing up for a family. Don't allow yourself to overthink it. And even I've had this second guessing re-entering this work. I'm like, oh my gosh, my certifications are from 2019 and 2020. Do I need to get recertified as a doula? No, I don't need to get recertified. I am always continuing my education. And that's the most important thing. And I think of one of my favorite mentors, Lois Wilson. She says to remember what you already know. Go back to your roots on why you're in this work. Remember what you already know and allow that to be the foundation that you build upon. Sometimes that's looking like certifications, and other times it's not. And it's okay to take your time and really only take the trainings and the workshops that you feel like are appropriate for the time that you're in. And for example, this is something that I've come up with as being a student, a really baby student, traditional midwife, neonatal resuscitation, for example. I'm not attending births at the moment. I don't know when I will be attending births as a student midwife, but I won't be taking neonatal resuscitation at this time because that's not something that my skills are calling for right now. I have infant CPR, but I don't have neonatal resuscitation because that's just not the realm that I'm in right now. And so that's something that I'll be putting to the side until I'm ready and I'm attending births as a student midwife. So that's just a little example. It's really inviting when we get into birth work because there is so much to learn from. There's so many amazing teachers and classes to go into, but at the same time, it can be a little bit overwhelming to the point where it paralyzes our movement in this work, and we don't want that to happen. So just remember that when you're feeling like it's so much, because it is so much being thrown at us, and that's thanks to social media, but that's also one reason why it could be a little bit too much at times. The next thing I want to talk about is really just going into this knowing, especially if you have young kids, that this work requires support. It requires community support, especially if you have children. but also if you are just attending births or attending families postpartum without children. Because this work is heavy. People go through things, and we are there to walk with them through that. So we want to make sure that we have trusted support people in our lives that we can talk to, that we can share with, if something is heavy on our heart. It's important for us to have a sounding board that can really speak peace and ground us. And I think that I've only realized that as I learn more about midwifery culture and what that looks like, and how important it is for midwives to have other midwives in their corner to talk to and share with. And it really comes down to trust. So think about that. What does that look like to have other women in this work that you feel that you can connect to? And if not, let's go back to that community and kind of putting yourself into the doula community and looking for friends that are in this work. And I saw on this group that I'm in on Facebook, I was so proud of this new doula because she put herself in this group and she asked, is there anyone that can mentor me? Like, is there someone that I can just learn from? And I was like, oh my gosh, like that is so brave of her to ask, and it's so necessary. And it's the one thing that I wish I would have done as a new doula, because yes, we should be having a mentor early on. We can learn so much from them. And then, of course, secondly, and firstly, for some of us with little kids, it's important to know who we can call on when we need a backup postpartum doula or a backup birth doula for a birth. And I suggest to always have people that you can call on for backup birth doulas, just because life happens, and you want to be able, of course, to be the one that goes there for the mother that you're caring for, but of course, just because of how life is, that's not always possible. So really forming those relationships of backup support is so important. And I think that's one thing that I enjoy with working with an agency, because there's usually a team of doulas there who are ready for being able to hop in as a backup. And then another one, going off of these little children, having women in our lives that we really trust to take care of our kids is so important. And for me, I'm really grateful to have my sister. When I was considering re-entering postpartum work and birth work, I had to ask her, is this something you would be able to help me with? And we were able to come up with a plan that may be able to work out. And so, of course, it's beneficial to have multiple babysitters kind of on board with your new endeavor. And I love so much reading Ina May's books and like hearing about the stories on their travels as Ina May was studying midwifery, and then when they got to the farm, there was sometimes like multiple midwives attending births together. And it's like, where were their kids? Well, their kids were in the hands of either the husbands or other midwives and other really, close women in their lives. And so if you're a single mom, or you don't live with the father of your children, or they have a busy schedule just in general, even though you do live under the same roof, it's really important to just cultivate this team, because we're going to need it. We're especially going to need it because births can be 24 hours plus long that we're away from home. So who is going to care for our kids? And I think the big question is, where do you find these people that can provide this care for our family? And that's a really great question. It's going to differ depending on what kind of family support you already have, and what you would really be looking for to fill in the gaps. But my suggestion is just to start wondering, who would it be, especially if we're birth doulas, and how would I be able to find more people that I could trust to create those layers of support for my family. And so those are the 4 big things that are on top for me as I find my footing and kind of walk back into this work, if God has this, in store for me right now. And if he doesn't, I'm going to understand, because I can't paint this perfect picture, of what's playing out in my life. I never have any idea what is kind of going on. So I just want to give it to him and allow the weight to be taken off my shoulders so he can bear it and just guide me and show me, Taylar, what are you supposed to do? Like, he is looking at me and being like, Taylar, this is the way. And I'm sitting here saying, okay, I'm going to go this way today and we'll see what tomorrow brings. And just, that's kind of just the place that I'm in, is just listening, being aware, and reminding myself that it's not picture perfect. And I never want to portray it to be picture perfect, because it's just not. It's not a linear profession. It's not a linear way to, I don't know. I mean, I don't really know if anything's linear. Maybe for some, but for me, not so much. Not so much. So thank you guys so much for listening. I hope that this was helpful. Let me know below if you have any tips that may be helpful for a new doula, or even for me in my position. You know, I'm always kind of open to hearing what works for others, and would love to hear how you're navigating some of these things as a doula. So I hope you guys have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day. Invite peace in. Safe travels if you're on the road right now. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.